Alright, what's up everyone? Today we're gonna, August. Today we're gonna talk about gear and the importance of it. Now, if nutrition is the most important thing, then what's second? I would say a close second would be that of gear. Okay? Gear is to a hiker as a weapon is to a soldier. And it can make the difference between the life and death of your thru hike. Now, if you are a novice and you do plan to thru hike, then the best advice I can give you right now is to forget everything you know about camping and hiking. Alright? Humble yourself and be prepared to take the advice of those that went before you. You know, the hikers, you know, the ones that's been there and know what's going on. Alright? Now, I'm going to tell you a little story to put this in some kind of context. When I initially thru hiked the first time in 1992, I was about as green as a pea, you know. Personally, I'm a city boy. I'm from California. The only thing I knew about the outdoors was what I learned through the military. So naturally, when I went to hike in 92, all my gear was military issue. I'm talking rucksack, sleeping bag, boots, canteen, the whole nine, you know. And never mind the fact that my pack weight was like 70 pounds. Never mind the fact that when I'm hiking and I'm going down the trail and people are passing me as if I'm moving like a turtle looking at me, you know. Some that were brave enough stopped and tried to give some advice, but I guess at that point, you know, my trail name was Kanye West because you couldn't tell me nothing, you know. So anyway, after about 3 days when I was packing up in camp, you know, it's just like my body turned against me. You know, my body was like, I had enough. My legs were like, I'm done. My back was like, you're not putting that pack on me again. So as I was clearing through camp, I had everything laid out and I was looking at this old school dude. He was packing up as well. And I said, you know what? Let me eat some humble pie and go over here and ask this guy. So I walk over there to the guy and I'm like, you know, do you think you can go through my pack and, you know, get rid of the stuff that I don't need? And I kind of like gestured to say like, yeah, you know, I'm right over here. And he said, I've been watching you. I don't need to go over there and see what you need. And I'm like, good. Well then, tell me then, what do I need to get rid of? And then he looked at me and he put a hand on my shoulder and he said, everything, son. And I thought it was a joke for a second, but then in the back of my mind I heard this voice saying, yeah, you idiot, you know. And so I don't know. I just turned around and I walked away, and I was processing it, you know, and I guess one could say that I learned a valuable lesson that day, you know. One of those hard truths that you never want to hear, but, you know, pretty much has to take heed to. Now, in the Army, well, we've all heard of the scientific method, you know. You formulate a hypothesis, test the theory, blah, 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 report your findings. Well, in the Army, in the military, we have a method of doing things as well. And that's composed of 3 principal things. You know, before you get a mission, before you carry out that mission, before you give a class, before you do anything, you're going to ask yourself 3 questions. What are the tasks, condition, and standards? Okay? Once you ask yourself those 3 questions, and once you start to look at it from from that perspective, broad, then you can have a better chance of actually seeing exactly what you need to do to get through to accomplish the task. We'll just make it simple. And had I asked myself, what are the tasks, conditions, and standards of this thru hike, I wouldn't have been in that situation, because at that point I would have realized, you know what, with this I need to ask somebody something. Now, for the record, there was nothing wrong with the Army gear that I had. It was just not engineered or suitable for the task, for the conditions and the standards in which I was going to use it for. Okay? Now, there is a famous Chinese general. His name is Sun Tzu. He wrote the book called The Art of War, and I recommend it. It's a very good read. But he says in it, before you go to war, first know your enemy. Well, first know yourself. Second, know your enemy. Third, know the terrain. And fourth, know the elements. Know the weather and whatnot. Now, before you start saying, ah, man, it's old soldier, you probably got, you know, PTSD. What does war have to do with the trail? Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. If you're a thru hiker and you plan on hiking the Appalachian Trail, then that is war. Through hiking is war. There's no doubt about it. The trail is your enemy, and it's going to challenge you on every single front, like I already said before. And unless you respect that, unless you know exactly what you're going into and you do the research, then you know you might be disappointed at some point in your hike. So I'm just letting you know what's up right now. Now those of you who live on the East Coast that are going to be buying your gear and things of that nature, you're in a better advantage than someone else in a different region, because at least you have some familiarity with the terrain. At least you know something about the weather. Okay, but those of you that are coming from the West Coast, the South, the North, and the Nether regions, before you buy your gear, okay, I recommend that you do some research. I mean, really do some research and know what's going on as far as the East Coast, as far as the weather conditions, as far as the Appalachian Trail standard. And if you have any question, it will be best not to buy the gear. For example, in 2007, when I went back on the trail, I was in San Diego trying to find a 0-degree sleeping bag. And then it dawned on me, dude, you're not going to find no 0-degree sleeping bag in here. It's San Diego. So at some point I got everything that I needed, and then I got the sleeping bag once I reached closer to trailhead around Georgia or something like that. Now, do you need a 0-degree sleeping bag? You might not, but I do, because it goes back to knowing yourself. I get colder than most. I burn so many calories so quickly it makes me anemic, and it's like I said about the iron. My body can't hold heat like the average person's can. So what I do is I get a 0-degree sleeping bag because I want to be warm. I mean, I like to be nice and toasty. Now, but at any rate, that goes back to what I was saying about knowing yourself. Now, there is something else you need to be aware of as far as knowing the weather and all that. Let's say you're at home, California, Florida, and you go into an Outfitters, and you say, hey, I'm going to be hiking the trail, and, I need some gear. Be aware, every sleeping bag is not the same. Every pack is not the same. All gear is not the same. So, the guy will be like, okay, when are you leaving? He'd be like, oh, I'm leaving in March, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so he's going to be like, all right, so now we're going to outfit you for summer. Okay, that's a big mistake. Because I'll tell you something, the last snowstorm does not even fall until it can fall up to late as April 15th, and that's in the North Carolina mountains. Okay, at the base of, let's say, Nantahala Outdoor Rec Center, river rafting outpost. Once you come up out of there, depending on the time of the month, even in April, you can go into up to 2 and 4 inches of snow. I mean, and if your gear's not right, good luck with that. 25 miles from there, around 25, 35 miles, you're going to get to Fontana Dam. And now you're talking about the Smokies, And even through there, you can get ice storms, temperatures falling, and this, that, and the other. So spring and summer is not going to start as early as you may think if you're not aware. And if you go, if you come in there with summer gear, or if you send all your winter clothes home, you may be in for a rude awakening. I guess it bears mentioning that outfitters are only going to stock their shelves with the needs of the local town. You know what I'm saying? It's like if they did have a 0-degree sleeping bag in San Diego, it wouldn't sell, and that's bad business. So even if you're familiar with the REIs and the Carbellos and things of that nature, even though they're nationwide, before you go to this particular local chapter to buy what you need, you might want to hold on to that. You might want to say, well, let me get to one closer to where I'm going. For example, Christmas is coming up. If you got loved ones that say something like, hey, we know you're hiking the trail, let us buy you a sleeping bag, and you'd be like, good. You don't want to do that because you don't know what they're going to buy you. The best thing you can say for yourself is, hey, give me an REI gift card, give me a Carbello's gift card, and unless you 100% know what you need, wait, don't buy it. Get closer to the trailhead, okay, and then go into these REIs and Carbellos and whatnot, and then buy what you need. Now, for the record, the Greyhound bus station, let's say you're going to take the bus to Springer Mountain, start your hike. Well, before you go to Gainesville, the Greyhound bus station is going to stop in Atlanta. Well, in that proximity, REI has a outdoor rec place where they sell gear, so you can actually go into Atlanta, put your pack on, and then walk down however you need, Every far you need to go, you can find the address on line, go on the REI and get the other stuff that you need, okay? And Carbelo's the same way. You got some in that area. Also, 7 miles from Gainesville, there's this big old mall. They also have a REI there. So that's something to think about. And in the future, you know, as far as the humble pie goes, let's say you start your hike, okay, and then you realize, well, you know, I got some problems with my gear. Well, 33.4 miles from Springer Mountain is Neil's Gap, and Neil's Gap is Outfitters. What's his name? Waylon. He's a good guy. The people that he hire are professional and they know what's going on. Go in there with your gear and say, you know what, I need some help. Let them go through your gear and let them outfit you with something more to your standard, or more up to what you're gonna need. Now, understand this. You know, these aren't used cars dealers. All right. They're not trying to take your money, okay? And if you're not aware of the price of like polypropylene and Gore-Tex and these things, then it's gonna come as a rude awakening when you see the price tag on these things that they're offering. So this is what I'll tell you. This is my advice to you. When they're coming off the shelf with this $300 this or this $400 that, you know, before you say, what are you thinking? I can't pay that. What you do is, if they say, well, this is what you need, okay? Nod your head, say thank you, and then ask why. You know, don't ask it with contempt in your voice, but just straight ask why, you know, and then listen to what they're telling you, okay? Because at least you can make an informed decision. Because when they're telling you why, and then they go in it, and then you understand, oh, okay, yeah, I didn't think of that. Now you have now you have something of which to base on and be like, okay, all right, and then you can either say yay or nay, but at least you're not going into something blind, you know. Maybe after hearing the reason why you may need something, you can come up with a better way, you know, to circumvent the problem that having this gear will prevent, you know. But at the same time, you can do it at a fraction of the cost by doing this and doing this. But it's all about having that informed decision. So yeah, that about covers gear as far as that goes. You know, I really can't get into name brands and this, that, and the other because I'd rather not. You know, that's not what this is for. I'm trying to stay unbiased. I'm just trying to let you know just the general of it. You know, the basic ins and outs where you can see what you need to do and then go from there. All right, out here.